Warning: the real reason your legs are getting weaker may have nothing to do with age, and it's not because you don't exercise enough. In fact, one of the most powerful ways to restore leg strength does not come from the gym or a pill, but from something far more simple: your kitchen. Recent studies reveal that a single food, eaten at the right time and in the right combination, can begin to reactivate your neuromuscular performance in as little as 12 hours. That means by the very next morning, people over 50 showed measurable improvements in muscle protein synthesis and mitochondrial activity, the very engines of your strength, energy, and recovery. This matters because your legs are often the first to lose power as you age. And when leg strength fades, everything changes. Walking upstairs feels harder, your balance becomes shaky, and even daily energy starts to drain away. Many believe this is just getting old. But here's the truth: the biggest cause of muscle loss isn't age itself. It's chronic undernourishment at the cellular level, silent inflammation, and circadian rhythms falling out of sync. The good news? With the right nutrition at the right time, your body can bounce back much faster than you think. To better understand how nutrition can directly impact leg strength and mobility, we need to look deeper into the biological and neurological mechanisms behind it. The body of this text will analyze the latest scientific findings on the disconnection between the brain and muscles, the role of the amino acid leucine, the function of the neurotransmitter acetylcholine, the effects of nitric oxide from beets, the anti-inflammatory power of dark leafy greens, and the importance of protein distribution and meal timing. When combined strategically, these factors not only restore muscle strength, but also significantly improve stability, confidence, and overall vitality. For decades, age-related weakness in the legs was thought to be the result of muscle atrophy, the shrinking of muscle fibers due to inactivity or declining hormone levels. But modern neuroscience reveals a more encouraging picture. In many cases, the muscle is still there. What's really happening is that the motor neurons, the nerve cells that carry signals from the brain and spinal cord to the muscles, are becoming less efficient. This means the electrical command to contract doesn't always reach the muscle fibers. The result is that the muscle remains intact, but it simply isn't activated. Now let me share a real story with you. Her name is Mary, a 62-year-old retired teacher. For most of her life, Mary stayed active, gardening, walking daily, even joining a local dance class. But over the last 2 years, she began to notice something strange. When she stood up from her chair, she sometimes felt a brief sense of unsteadiness, as if her legs were slow to wake up. Climbing stairs became exhausting, even though she hadn't changed her lifestyle. At first, she assumed this was just aging, something inevitable. Out of concern, she joined a gym and began lifting light weights, hoping to build her leg muscles back. But despite months of effort, her legs still felt weak and unreliable. When Mary finally saw a neurologist, the explanation surprised her. Tests showed that her leg muscles still had normal volume and strength potential, but the nerve signals from her spinal cord to those muscles were impaired. In other words, the wires carrying commands were fraying, not the muscles themselves. Her body wasn't losing strength because of disappearing muscle mass, but because the existing muscle was disconnected from her nervous system. The hopeful part of Mary's story is that this kind of disconnection is not permanent. With targeted nutrition, foods that restore neurotransmitters and support motor neurons, combined with light mobility exercises, Mary began to notice improvements within weeks. Standing up felt steadier, her steps became quicker, and her confidence in daily movement returned. This illustrates a powerful lesson. Before worrying about how much muscle you can build, it's essential to ensure your nervous system is actually using the muscle you already have. Think of your muscles as a team of skilled workers, and your nervous system as the foreman shouting instructions through a megaphone. If the megaphone's battery is weak, the workers remain idle. But once the battery is recharged, the whole crew can get back to work immediately. So if you've noticed your legs feeling weak, shaky, or slower than before, it doesn't necessarily mean you've lost muscle. More often, it means your muscles are simply waiting to be reactivated. And the good news is, with the right approach, that connection can be restored. In India, aging is often seen as something natural, and many seniors quietly accept the weakness in their legs as an unavoidable part of growing older. But real stories from across the country show how simple nutritional changes, especially paying attention to leucine intake, can transform the daily lives of older adults. Take the case of Mr. Kapoor, a 68-year-old retired schoolteacher from Lucknow. For decades, his diet was built around rice, lentils, and vegetables with very little animal protein. As the years passed, he noticed subtle changes. His legs felt heavier during his daily walk to the temple, and climbing the steep staircase in his old family home became a challenge. At first, he thought it was just the price of aging. But after a checkup, his doctor explained the concept of anabolic resistance and how seniors often need more targeted nutrients to keep their muscles strong. Mr. Kapoor was advised to add 2 boiled eggs to his breakfast and a small glass of whey protein shake. Within 2 months, he was surprised at the results. He could stand from his chair without pressing on the armrests, and he once again joined his friends for long evening walks in the neighborhood park. For him, regaining strength also meant regaining dignity. A different but equally inspiring story comes from Mrs. Devi, a 72-year-old grandmother from Chennai. She had followed a strict vegetarian diet for most of her life, depending mainly on rice, idli, and sambar. As she grew older, she began to fear carrying heavy vessels of water from the kitchen because her legs felt shaky and unstable. Her children, after reading about leucine-rich foods, encouraged her to include soybeans, paneer, and sprouted pulses in her meals. She also started drinking a glass of warm milk with added soy protein powder in the mornings. To her amazement, not only did her legs feel stronger within weeks, but her confidence returned as well. She proudly told her grandchildren, "Now I can chase you around the courtyard again." In rural Maharashtra, Mr. Ramesh, a 70-year-old farmer, faced similar struggles. Farming had kept him active all his life, but after retiring, his physical work reduced drastically. He continued eating mostly chapati and potato-based meals with little protein. Soon, he found it hard to squat in the fields or walk long distances. A local health worker explained to him that muscles need specific nutrients and introduced him to roasted chickpeas and buttermilk with added protein powder. These simple, affordable additions made a huge difference. Within a few months, he could again help his sons in the fields, not with the same stamina as before, but with steady, reliable strength. Another powerful example is Mrs. Asha, a widow living in Varanasi who often spent her days praying and caring for her grandchildren. She complained of her legs trembling when standing during long rituals at the temple. Her neighbor, who had attended a health awareness camp, suggested she try incorporating paneer and groundnuts into her diet. Slowly, she noticed that she could stand longer and walk more comfortably to the ghat for her evening prayers. For her, this improvement was not just physical, it was spiritual, because she could continue her devotion without interruption. These stories underline a vital truth for seniors in India. Weakness in the legs is not simply old age. It is often the result of missing key nutrients like leucine. By adding the right foods, whether it is whey protein, eggs, paneer, soybeans, or pulses, older adults can activate their body's natural muscle-building pathways through mTOR and regain strength. For many, this means independence, the ability to walk to the temple, climb stairs at home, play with grandchildren, or continue farming in the fields. In a country where cultural diets vary widely, some vegetarian, some non-vegetarian, the solution is not one size fits all, but the principle remains the same. Providing enough leucine at the right times can help seniors move from frailty to vitality. And as these real-life examples show, with small, consistent steps, older adults in India can rewrite their story of aging, not as a decline, but as a chance to stay strong, active, and independent. If leucine acts like the switch that tells your muscles to grow, Acetylcholine is the actual messenger that tells them to move. Every time you decide to stand, take a step, or simply lift your foot, the signal does not go straight from your brain to the muscle. Instead, it is translated into acetylcholine, ACH, a neurotransmitter that carries the command across the neuromuscular junction. Without enough acetylcholine, the signal becomes weak or inconsistent. Muscles misfire, respond slowly, or sometimes fail to respond at all. As we age, both the production of acetylcholine and the sensitivity of its receptors gradually decline. This is one reason why older adults often notice slight tremors when standing, delayed reaction in their legs, or an unsteady feeling even during simple tasks. The decline is subtle, but its consequences are profound. A slower step, a missed stare, or a small imbalance can lead to loss of confidence and, eventually, fear of movement. But here's the hopeful part. Acetylcholine can be replenished. Research summarized in Nutrients 2012 shows that increasing dietary choline, the precursor to acetylcholine, can elevate acetylcholine levels within as little as 6 to 12 hours, especially when the nervous system is actively demanding coordination. In practical terms, the right foods in the right window of time can make your nervous system sharper almost overnight. The richest natural source of choline is the egg yolk. 2 whole eggs provide over 300 million nanomoles of choline, enough to give your body the raw material to restore neuromuscular communication. For those who are plant-based, options include soybeans, quinoa, and Brussels sprouts, though their bioavailability is lower compared to eggs. Still, with consistent intake, they can help support acetylcholine synthesis. Morning protocol. Within about 30 minutes of waking, have 2 whole eggs along with a leucine-rich protein, such as whey or cottage cheese. Why in the morning? Because acetylcholine synthesis is naturally at its lowest after sleep, and motor neurons are most receptive to nutritional input at that time. It's like charging a battery right when it is most depleted. The result? Sharper signals, better precision in movement, and a steadier gait for the rest of the day. Consider the experience of Mr. Sharma, a 70-year-old retired banker from Delhi. He often complained that when he stood up quickly, his legs felt shaky and his steps hesitant. His daughter, after reading about choline, encouraged him to add 2 boiled eggs and a small portion of paneer to his breakfast. Within just a few weeks, he noticed that the unsteadiness when rising from his chair was gone. He told his friends at the park, "It feels like my legs are listening to me again." In Chennai, Mrs. Lalitha, a 68-year-old grandmother who followed a vegetarian diet, struggled with morning weakness. Carrying water pots or bending to pick up clothes left her feeling unstable. Her son introduced soy milk with added protein powder and sprouted pulses at breakfast. Though she could not consume eggs, the steady supply of choline-rich plant foods gradually improved her leg control. After 2 months, she proudly shared with her neighbor that she no longer needed her granddaughter's help to light the temple lamp each morning. These stories reveal that acetylcholine is not just about muscle activation. It also influences learning, memory, and focus. So when older adults restore acetylcholine through diet, they are not only improving physical control, but also sharpening mental clarity. That is a double benefit: stronger legs and a clearer mind. The takeaway is simple. Your morning meal should not be light or empty of key nutrients. It should be a deliberate recharge of the communication line between your brain and your muscles. Eggs, whey, or plant-based choline sources act as the fuel for this system. And once the command of movement is restored, seniors often rediscover not just stability in their legs, but also the confidence to move freely again. Even if your muscles have enough protein and your nervous system is sending strong signals, there is another hidden barrier that often limits leg strength: circulation. Think of your muscles as a garden. It doesn't matter how fertile the soil is, if the water hose is kinked, the plants will not thrive. In the same way, your leg muscles cannot perform if blood flow is restricted. As we age, the arteries and capillaries that carry oxygen and nutrients to the legs often become narrower and less responsive. The result is poor delivery of oxygen, slower removal of waste products, and an overall sense of heaviness or fatigue in the legs. Many seniors describe it as, "My legs feel tired even before I walk." This is not a lack of willpower, it is biology. The key molecule that controls vessel dilation is nitric oxide, NO. Produced naturally by the endothelial cells lining our blood vessels, nitric oxide tells arteries when to widen and allow more blood to flow. But with aging, the body's ability to produce NO decreases. The good news is that diet can directly restore it. Among the most powerful natural boosters of nitric oxide are beets, especially when consumed raw or as juice. A study published in the Journal of Applied Physiology, 2015, showed that older adults who drank beetroot juice experienced measurable increases in leg muscle power within hours. The effect was particularly strong in fast-twitch fibers, which are critical for balance and preventing falls. This is not just theory. It translates to real improvements in walking speed, stair climbing, and chair stand tests. How to apply this? About 90 minutes before physical activity, consume 1 to 2 medium-sized beets or 250-300 ml of beetroot juice. This allows time for the nitrates in the beets to be converted into nitric oxide in your body. To maximize the effect, pair this with 15-20 minutes of light movement such as walking, cycling, or dynamic stretching. Movement itself further stimulates nitric oxide production, making your vessels more responsive. Let's look at a real story. Mr. Patel, a 69-year-old from Ahmedabad, had always been active in his textile business. But in recent years, he noticed that after just a short walk, his legs felt heavy and his pace slowed dramatically. He began to avoid morning walks with his friends because he couldn't keep up. After hearing about beetroot juice from a community health seminar, he started drinking a small glass each morning before his walk. Within 3 weeks, he felt a remarkable difference. His legs no longer dragged, and he could finish his usual 2 laps around the park. His friends joked, "You're back to your old self." In rural Punjab, Mrs. Kaur, a 71-year-old grandmother, had similar struggles. She loved helping her daughters-in-law in the fields, but felt her energy vanish quickly. Her grandson prepared roasted beet salad for her lunch 3 times a week. Slowly, she regained her stamina and could again sit with her family in the courtyard without feeling drained. She later shared proudly that her evening prayers were easier because standing for longer no longer left her legs trembling. The lesson is clear. Circulation is not just about preventing heart disease. It is about powering the very muscles that keep you independent. Nitric oxide acts like a natural switch that opens the pathways of energy to your legs. By adding beetroot or other nitrate-rich vegetables such as spinach and arugula to your meals, you give your body the tools it needs to restore flow, deliver oxygen, and fuel strength. For seniors, this can mean something very practical. Climbing stairs without fear, walking with confidence in the market, or simply enjoying an evening with grandchildren without the shadow of fatigue. Blood flow is life flow, and nourishing it with the right foods can unlock strength that many thought was lost forever. When people think of weak legs in old age, they often imagine muscle fibers simply shrinking away. But there is another hidden factor that plays just as big a role: chronic, low-grade inflammation. Unlike the sudden pain you feel after twisting an ankle, this type of inflammation is quiet, subtle, and long-lasting. It doesn't make headlines inside your body. Instead, it slowly erodes energy, coordination, and resilience. Many seniors don't even describe it as pain, but rather as a background heaviness, stiff joints, or legs that always feel tired no matter how much rest they get. Science has begun to reveal just how damaging this hidden fire can be. A study published in the Journals of Gerontology, 2020, found that older adults with slightly elevated markers of inflammation, such as C-reactive protein, CRP, and interleukin-6, IL-6, had significantly lower muscle mass and strength compared to those with lower levels. This was true even if both groups exercised and ate reasonably well. Why? Because inflammation interferes with the very machinery of the muscle. It disrupts mitochondria, the tiny powerhouses inside each cell, reducing their ability to produce energy. It also interrupts muscle protein synthesis and weakens the nervous system's ability to recruit fibers effectively. In other words, the muscle is there, but the spark plug to activate it is dimmed. The good news is that this hidden fire is not untouchable. Nature has already provided one of the most powerful extinguishers: dark leafy greens. Vegetables such as spinach, kale, mustard greens, arugula, and collard greens are more than just sources of vitamins. They are pharmacological foods, dense with compounds that directly cool inflammation at the cellular level. Polyphenols, chlorophyll, magnesium, and natural nitrates all work together to signal the immune system to calm down and restore balance. One compound in particular, quercetin, found in kale and mustard greens, has been shown to block pro-inflammatory cytokines like IL-6 and TNF-alpha. A Frontiers in Pharmacology 2019 study demonstrated that diets high in quercetin-rich vegetables reduced inflammatory markers within 2 to 4 weeks. How to practice this daily? Start your morning with at least 1 cup of dark leafy greens. This could be sautéed spinach folded into scrambled eggs, kale blended into a smoothie with banana and almond milk, or arugula tossed with olive oil and lemon juice. Timing matters because eating greens early helps set your circadian rhythm toward an anti-inflammatory state. Adding a drizzle of olive oil or a slice of avocado improves absorption of fat-soluble nutrients like vitamin K, beta-carotene, and lutein. Even a squeeze of lemon juice or apple cider vinegar can enhance digestion and nutrient uptake. These ideas may sound simple, but for seniors, the results can be life-changing. Take Mr. Verma, a 74-year-old retired lawyer from Jaipur. He had no major illnesses, but he constantly woke up with stiff legs and heavy steps. Blood tests showed slightly elevated CRP levels, silent inflammation at work. His doctor recommended starting each day with spinach paratha or mustard greens. Skeptical at first, he agreed to try. After a month, the difference was undeniable. His morning stiffness nearly vanished, and he proudly joined his wife again for long evening walks. "I thought this heaviness was just old age," he admitted, "but it was really the fire inside me." Another story comes from Mrs. Nair, a 70-year-old homemaker in Kerala. Gardening had been her joy for decades, but she found herself abandoning her plants after just 10 minutes because of fatigue in her legs. Her daughter suggested making a daily green smoothie with kale, cucumber, and soy milk. At first, Mrs. Nair laughed and said, "Smoothies are for the young," but she agreed to try. Within a few weeks, she could spend hours in her garden again. Her neighbors noticed the change and she told them with a smile, "My energy came back through my leaves." In rural Bihar, Mr. Das, a 72-year-old farmer, had a different challenge. He was strong from years of working in the fields, but after retiring, he often complained of swollen ankles and constant heaviness in his legs. A local health worker explained inflammation and encouraged him to eat more leafy greens with his chapati. He began adding mustard greens and coriander chutney daily. Over time, not only did the swelling reduce, but he could help his grandchildren with farming tasks without feeling drained. For him, leafy greens were not just food, but medicine. These stories underline a critical truth: inflammation is not destiny. Just because you feel constant heaviness in your legs doesn't mean it is irreversible. With consistent, simple dietary habits, like 1 cup of greens each morning, you can cool the fire, restore energy, and give your legs back their power. Unlike a painkiller which masks discomfort, leafy greens address the root cause. They reprogram the body's immune response, helping it recognize that it no longer needs to stay in alert mode. Over weeks, this translates into less fatigue, faster recovery after activity, and more stable energy throughout the day. For seniors, this can mean the difference between dependency and independence. Instead of avoiding stairs, skipping temple visits, or declining playtime with grandchildren, they regain confidence in their movement. A simple plate of greens each day may not look dramatic, but inside the body, it is like pouring cool water over a flame that has been burning for years. The lesson is both simple and powerful. To rebuild strength in aging legs, you must not only fuel and activate the muscle, but also calm the fire that silently weakens it. Dark leafy greens are one of the easiest, most accessible, and most effective tools to achieve this. And when practiced consistently, they can restore not just muscle strength, but also the joy of moving freely. When people think about building or preserving muscle, the first thought is usually eat more protein. And while protein quantity is important, for older adults, timing and distribution can matter even more. The reason lies in a biological challenge known as anabolic resistance, a gradual decline in the body's ability to respond to protein as we age. In young adults, even a modest portion of protein can stimulate muscle protein synthesis, MPS, the process of repairing and building new muscle tissue. But after the age of 60, the same meal produces a much weaker response. The muscle machinery becomes hard of hearing. You may eat enough protein over the whole day, but if it is not distributed properly, much of its potential is wasted. Instead of building muscle, the excess protein may simply be oxidized for energy or stored. A pivotal study from the University of Texas, 2014, showed that when protein intake was evenly spread across 3 meals, older adults had 25% higher muscle protein synthesis compared to those who consumed most of their protein at dinner. In other words, the body responded better when it received consistent signals throughout the day rather than one large dose at night. Each protein-rich meal acts like a trigger for MPS, but the trigger only works when there is enough leucine in the meal, usually about 2.5 to 3 grams, which equates to 25-30 grams of high-quality protein. After this threshold is reached, the mTOR pathway switches on, signaling the muscle to repair and grow. But muscles can only synthesize a limited amount of protein at one time, roughly 30-40 grams. Eating far beyond that does not add extra benefit. That's why stacking protein at dinner, a common pattern in India where breakfast is light, lunch is modest, and dinner is heavy, is less effective. For seniors, the best strategy is protein pacing, consuming 25-30 grams of high-quality protein every 3 to 4 hours across the day. This keeps the anabolic signal active, counteracts resistance, and helps maintain or even rebuild muscle. Breakfast. Aim for at least 25 g of protein. Options include 2 eggs with paneer or a whey protein shake with milk and nuts. Lunch. Add lentils, chickpeas, or chicken with chapati and spinach. Snack. A small bowl of Greek yogurt or soy milk with roasted chickpeas. Dinner. Keep protein moderate around 25-30 g instead of making it the largest protein load of the day. Equally important is the anabolic window, the 30-60 minutes after physical activity when muscle cells are most receptive to nutrients. Having a protein-rich meal or snack after walking, gardening, or light exercise helps maximize repair and recovery. Mr. Iyer, a 70-year-old retired accountant in Bangalore, used to eat very lightly during the day, idly and tea for breakfast, a small lunch of rice and vegetables, and a heavy dinner with most of his protein. Despite taking protein supplements, he complained that his legs remained weak. After consulting a dietitian, he began shifting protein toward breakfast and lunch. Every morning, he drank a whey shake with banana and added eggs. Lunch included dal, paneer, and spinach. Dinner became lighter. Within 3 months, his walking endurance improved noticeably. and he proudly reported climbing stairs without clutching the railing. In Hyderabad, Mrs. Reddy, 68, faced a similar issue. As a lifelong vegetarian, she relied heavily on rice and vegetables with only occasional pulses. She often felt drained by afternoon and thought she was too old to feel energetic again. Her son introduced her to the concept of protein pacing. She began eating sprouted moong and quinoa porridge in the morning, followed by rajma and soy chunks at lunch, and a lighter dinner with millet and vegetables. She also had a small glass of protein-fortified buttermilk after her evening walk. After 2 months, she reported that her legs no longer felt like bags of sand. She regained the ability to walk to the temple daily and even joined a senior yoga class. Mr. Khan, a 72-year-old former shopkeeper from Mumbai, offers another lesson. He had a habit of skipping breakfast, eating a big lunch, and then a heavy meat-based dinner. He noticed constant fatigue and difficulty standing for long periods. After learning about anabolic resistance, he made a simple change: boiled eggs and yogurt in the morning, smaller but balanced protein at lunch, and moderate chicken at dinner. He also started eating a handful of almonds and soy milk after his evening prayers. The results were striking. His posture improved, and his children noticed he could play cricket with his grandchildren again without getting exhausted. Protein timing is not just a scientific principle, it must adapt to cultural habits. In India, many seniors eat carb-heavy breakfasts, parathas, poha, idli, and save protein for later. The challenge is to gently shift habits without overwhelming them. Adding paneer or sprouts to breakfast, replacing tea and biscuits with yogurt and nuts, or drinking a small whey or soy shake in the morning can make a huge difference without disrupting cultural comfort. Vegetarians may worry about limited options, but combining plant proteins such as rice with lentils or chapati with chickpeas creates complete amino acid profiles. Soy, quinoa, and spirulina are also excellent additions. For those who eat animal protein, eggs, dairy, chicken, and fish provide fast and rich leucine content. Protein timing is more than nutrition. It is about communication. Every time you eat the right amount of protein at the right time, you are sending a message to your muscles. Stay active, stay strong, stay alive, and the muscles respond, even in the 7th or 8th decade of life. This is the science of defying decline. By outsmarting anabolic resistance, older adults can reclaim strength they thought was gone. It's not about building a bodybuilder's physique. It's about preserving independence, climbing stairs without fear, standing tall in the market, or walking confidently with grandchildren. In the end, the principle is simple yet powerful. Don't just count protein, count when you eat it. Spread it evenly, match it with movement, and let your body use it effectively. This practice, combined with leucine, acetylcholine support, and anti-inflammatory foods, creates a synergy that restores leg strength and overall vitality. For seniors in India and around the world, this is more than nutrition science. It is a lifeline to dignity, mobility, and joy. With every well-timed meal, the message is clear. Your body still remembers how to grow stronger. It just needs you to remind it at the right times. For many years, people believed that weak legs and fading strength were simply a part of aging. But science shows this is not the whole truth. Muscle does not just disappear, it becomes disconnected, undernourished, and inflamed. And the encouraging news is this: with the right foods at the right times, your legs can regain power, stability, and vitality. We explored how leucine turns on the body's muscle-building switch, how choline restores the command signals for movement, how nitric oxide from beets and greens opens blood vessels to feed your muscles, and how dark leafy vegetables calm the silent fire of inflammation. Finally, we learned that timing protein evenly throughout the day helps your body overcome anabolic resistance and keeps muscles active. These are not abstract theories. They are simple habits: eggs, paneer, spinach, soy, beetroot, yogurt, lentils. Foods that are affordable and familiar in many kitchens across India and beyond. When combined with regular movement, they have the power to restore both strength and confidence. The stories of seniors who regained independence, walking to the market without fatigue, climbing stairs with ease, or playing joyfully with grandchildren prove that it is never too late to improve. Remember, age itself is not the enemy. Neglect is. Your body still remembers how to grow stronger. It simply needs the right signals. Start small. A protein-rich breakfast, a serving of greens, a glass of beet juice, and a balanced distribution of protein through the day. Step by step, your legs can become steady, powerful, and alive again. Strong legs mean freedom, dignity, and the ability to enjoy life fully at any age.